Hello everyone, welcome to Thai Finance. Today we're going to discuss helicopter money. And today we'll explain what does this term mean, why it's been discussed lately, and how it works and how it affects us. So you think that's interesting? You should definitely watch this video. So what is helicopter money? Helicopter money, it's a term used to describe how central banks subsidize common people and companies to increase spending and consumption in the economy. It's a stimulus given directly to them, and some of these subsidies are just without any intermediary. That means that they're deposited directly in some form of money, electronic money. Basically, they just give it for free. And that money is, yes, created out of thin air. I want to tell you that don't forget to subscribe to the channel to get the latest insights about finance and management. I want to talk about interest rates around the world. Recently, central banks have cut policy rates aggressively around the world. And what is the purpose of this? When the economy is slowing down, normally central banks are injecting and increasing liquidity around the world by easing currency through the banking system. Policy rates are cut aggressively. That means that the cost of capital is low. That means that you can have access to money supply with a very low cost of capital. What is this important? Because normally when there's like debt problems and credit problems, debt is usually a tricky remedy to keep sleepwalker companies alive and postpone difficult restructurings that lead to political conflicts. I want to show you Federal Reserve balance sheet versus the S&P 500 representing the stock market and interest rates, and why the S&P 500 represents what is going on in the stock market, because there's like a lot of companies inside this index collecting information about how it performs. I want to show you what is the correlation between the stock market, the money supply, and the interest rates I just mentioned. Here you have the balance sheet of the Federal Reserve in blue, and as you can see, it has increased dramatically. Here in those color marks, you can see how many times they have eased money, like a package of stimulus injected into the economy by the central bank. Finally, you will see the interest rates I've just mentioned, and why there is a high correlation between the stock market, the interest rates, and the Federal Reserve balance sheet. As you can see here, when interest rates are cut down, the money supply goes up. And when they are increased, when interest rates rise, the money supply is tightening. When all this happens, simultaneously the stock market goes up. Why does this happen? Why there's like credit bubbles created? The thing is that when interest rates are low, people and companies have access to cheap money. So they have access to leverage and control assets like a house without any problem with a low cost of capital. That means that cheap money lets you control assets. And when you control assets like a house, for example, that serves as collateral to access for even more cash, right? So if you own a house because you are paying for it, the bank can lend you even more credit, give you more money to control more assets, right? This obviously stimulates demand and increases the asset prices like the S&P 500. I want to show you what is happening around the world, and we can see an example of how helicopter money is being made it's being practiced in the United States. And here's a picture of Steve Mnuchin handing President Donald Trump a sample of a debit card sent to taxpayers as an economic stimulus payment during this pandemic, right? And this card, basically, it's just electronic money. It cannot be transferred. They just have to spend it. Here's an example in Europe, in Spain. And this is like the Congress voting for a minimum wage that people that doesn't have a work have right to earn without doing anything. Basically, you just ask for money to the government, they will give it to you for free. but there's like a lot of discussion going on right now, and it's a bit controversial, to be honest. And here is the example of Mexico, the same as the United States, giving subsidies through an electronic card without any intermediary, so that people spend it and stimulate the economy. I want to talk about inflation, because when there's a lot of stimulus in the economy, there is a possibility of inflation. With the amount of money that they have eased into the economy, it's going to happen. The question is when we will have that inflation, right? The consumer price index from 1786 to 2019. During these years, where deflation was in 43% of all these years, you can see deflations of minus 22%, and there was like the highest inflation close to 40%. So it was very common that the economy entered in deflation, right? After the Federal Reserve was created, this was less common. As you can see, we just have like two huge events of deflation, around 10%. From 43% of all the years, it was now 19%. And after the Bretton Woods system ended, the gold standard, basically we have no deflation below zero. And why deflation is healthy? Because people who save money, they have the right to purchase something at a low price. And when inflation it's imposed by central banks and governments, people lose the purchasing power, right? Because prices just go up with all the money supply. Prices are like sponges absorbing all the excess money supply. And now this is the Fed's target at 2%. And well, below this line, all the central banks are applying those measures like quantitative easing, low interest rates. They increase the monetary supply to push inflation up, basically. Why is this wrong? Because normally they don't have any risk-free rate option to invest at the moment, right? If you have some money, it's becoming more and more difficult to get a risk-free rate of return back without any risk. Now they're pushing us to increase the risk of our investments. That's why the volatility increases. We just don't have a safe asset to invest right now. Now I want to show you the same chart, but now from recent years, right? Here on this square, we can see when we had the gold standard, and after that is when the gold standard ended. There was some type of inflation. In this square, we can see that inflation went up, but then and now we can see a trend that it's going down. So now in the immediate term, we don't see an inflationary scenario, but it will happen. Soon it will happen, because when there's like this amount of government spending, the money supply, well, things turn out wrong and very rapidly, like here. Spike of inflation, and in a very short period of time. And now I want to talk about the purchasing power of the people. When the Federal Reserve brings money into existence, takes value away from existing money that it's already circulating in the economy. These are inflationary events, like the Fed is created, the Wall Street crash, the Bretton Woods agreement, the oil crisis, and basically governments giving us a lot of pressure. We lose more purchasing power while the government spending and the government members increase throughout the years. There's a question of when the financial system will fail people, and there will be an uncomfortable restructuring of the debt amongst nation states. So I want to talk about the Cantillon effect. Richard Cantillon, an Irish-French economist, very recognized in the 18th century. Cantillon held that market prices are not immediately decided by intrinsic value, but are derived from supply and demand. If you want to sell something, prices are not immediately given to that product or service, right? So supply and demand determine the price of the product. He considers something very, very important, the velocity of money. I already explained in one of my videos that I will put it in the corner so you click and watch it. And the velocity of money is basically the quantity of exchanges made within a specific amount of time. It's how many times $1 exchanges within a time frame. Increases in the money supply, banknotes or fiat currency could affect prices by effectively increasing the velocity of the deposited currency, right? So if a central bank pumps more money into the economy, the resulting increase in prices does not happen evenly. The central banks injects money like quantitative easing 1, 2, 3, 4, like we just explained. Well, inflation will not happen from one day to another. It happens unevenly. Cantillon explained that the first ones to receive the newly created money, like the helicopter money basically, see their incomes and their purchasing power rise, whereas the last ones to receive that newly created money see their purchasing power decline as consumer price inflation comes as a product of that newly created money already in circulation. That means that the purchasing power and the wealth is transferred from the savers to the ones that are spending that newly created money. Cantillon famously noted that if the new money comes into the hands of savers, that the interest rates would decrease. But if it comes into the hands of consumers, the interest rate would increase as entrepreneurs or business people would need to borrow more to meet the increased demand for goods, right? So I want to talk about stagflation and why this helicopter money thing causes stagflation, and it basically describes the economic situation in which there is like below potential growth and noticeable inflation coincide. So a humble look into our monetary past and history teaches us that neither the mainstream economy nor central bankers can control the specifics of inflation dynamics. Inflation, it's part of a psychological part of the human beings. They will not provoke inflation. The thing is that when people feel safe enough to start spending money, they will spend it and inflation will rise. Okay, if creating new money into existence helped the economy, well, counterfeiting would be legal. As I told you, waves of inflation occur unexpectedly and within a short period of time. And how can we prevent ourselves from these episodes of inflation? I want to make a small parenthesis for you guys to subscribe to the channel to get the latest insights of finance and management. So I will talk about the copper and gold ratio, which is an important key indicator of the global economic health, right? So copper is used for many things in the economy, and gold, what people considers money and a sure asset to invest. How is calculated the copper and gold ratio? Well, it's calculated by dividing the market price of an ounce of copper by the market price of an ounce of gold. However, over the past months, the rising copper-gold ratio suggests that demand for copper is increasing, which is boosting prices. That means that it's like an indicator of inflation. So the rising demand for gold, which is a key industrial metal, signals that economic activity may be picking up, right, which would create an inflationary situation. Of course, this would imply that bond yields will rise, meaning bonds will fall in value. But this is not the case yet, right? Now we have like just a crisis, a stagflation, central banks injecting money into the system. But in order for us not to be vulnerable, we should be very aware of the copper-gold ratio, which will indicate us when the inflation start to kick in, right? So let's be aware of that. And I think this is the most important thing to consider, right? Please write down your opinion below so I can know what's your position on helicopter money. Many people think this is very controversial and a lot of things are discussed about this. And what is the thing that will cause these new modern monetary theories? Okay, thank you very much guys to arriving until now, and see you next time.